Hey, welcome to our explainer on the massive shift that's happening right now in business intelligence. We're moving away from those old school static reports and into a world of intelligent systems that can actually reason, act, and learn on their own. And believe me, this isn't just a small upgrade, it's a total reinvention of how we make decisions.
So let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the very heart of all this. Just imagine for a second. What if the systems that hold all your business data weren't just glorified filing cabinets? What if they could be active partners in your analysis, basically thinking right there alongside you?
And this slide, well, it just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way of doing things, managers staring at charts, trying to piece the story together themselves. But on the right, you see the new reality, a manager literally having a conversation with an intelligent system, where the system itself is helping to figure things out. We're moving from just being a tool user to having a real collaborative partner. Okay, so for our first section, let's dig into what this really means, going from a passive tool to an active, analytical teammate. The difference here is, well, it's night and day. Traditional BI just gives you the numbers, right? It leaves all the heavy lifting, all the interpretation to you. But these new AI systems, they can read text, they can generate explanations, and they can actively help you reason through a problem. This isn't just a small step forward. It completely changes how we find insights. So, how is any of this even possible? Well, that brings us to the first huge piece of the puzzle, natural language processing, or NLP. This is basically how AI learned to read. And this is just so powerful. Get this, something like 80% of a company's data, all the news articles, reports, customer emails, it's all unstructured text. It used to be basically invisible to our old BI systems. But now, as you can see here, NLP acts like this amazing universal translator, turning all that text into structured intelligence that we can actually analyze. And this isn't just theory, you know? The real-world applications are a total game changer. Imagine being able to automatically scan news from all over the world for market shifts, or analyze hundreds of earnings calls for key themes in just a few minutes. These are things that used to take huge teams of analysts, and now they can be done at a massive scale. But hold on, because just understanding text is only half the story. The real leap forward, what we call the pivot to action, is when these systems go from just answering our questions to actively working towards a goal. This slide shows a really crucial difference. A standard model, you give it a prompt, it gives you one answer, end of story. But an agentic system, it's totally different. You give it a goal, and it kicks off this whole dynamic, looping process to solve the problem. Like the caption says, an agent isn't just answering you, it is actively working for you. And this is how it does it. It's called the agent loop. You can see it starts by reasoning about what it needs to do. Then it takes an action, like querying a database. But what if it hits a wall? It observes the result. Maybe the data is incomplete. So it adjusts its plan and tries something new, like searching somewhere else. This cycle of reasoning, acting, observing, and adjusting is what lets it self-correct, just like a human analyst would. So this whole loop enables something called diagnostic reasoning. It means a system can act like a detective, searching across a ton of different sources, comparing signals that might even contradict each other, explaining how it got to its findings, and, this is a big one, updating its conclusions when new info comes in. This is so far beyond simple automation. Okay, so when you have a system this powerful, your relationship with it has to change. It's not just a tool you use anymore. It's a partnership. And what's the key to any good partnership? Trust. Absolutely. And that means we can't have a black box that just spits out an answer with no explanation. We need a glass box, one that shows us its work, its chain of thought. Seeing the process is just as important as seeing the final result, both for trust and for good governance. And in this partnership, we each have our own part to play, like these two gears working together. The human, that's us, we set the goals, we provide the judgment. The AI helps with the exploration and does all the heavy lifting at scale. The goal here isn't to replace managers, it's to supercharge their ability to explore and understand. Now, for this partnership to actually work, there are a few ground rules we have to follow. First, the system has to support human judgment, not try to replace it. Second, it has to be upfront about its own limitations. It needs to tell us when it's not sure. And third, and this is so important, it has to avoid pretending it's certain when it's not. It's way better for an AI to say, I don't know, than to just guess. But look, with any powerful new technology, or any powerful new teammate for that matter. There are new rules and new risks. And as leaders, we absolutely have to get our heads around these.
Let's talk about what can go wrong. First, there's overtrust, just blindly accepting what the AI says. Then you have hidden assumptions the AI might be working with. And of course, bad data in means bad analysis out. But maybe the biggest risk of all is what we call the diffusion of responsibility. The AI did it can never, ever be an excuse. These are leadership risks, not just tech problems. So, how do you stay on top of all this? Well, here's a super practical checklist every manager should be using. Ask these questions. Where did this data come from? What assumptions is this analysis based on? Where could this whole thing go wrong? And, most importantly, who is actually accountable for this decision? All right, let's pull all this together. What does this all mean for the future? As we step into this new AI era, what's the big takeaway?
The future of how we interact with data is changing completely. Forget writing code. It's going to be much more like having a conversation. We'll be able to ask questions naturally, explore complicated ideas through dialogue, and this is huge, we'll always have the ability to just ask why and get a real explanation.
And that brings us to our final and most crucial point. No matter how smart our systems get, no matter how much they can do on their own, tools will always change. But judgment and the ultimate responsibility for the decisions we make with those tools, that will always, always be human.